These are the rules for Ultimate Frisbee. Each player must check in with their APSU card. An individual may only participate on one team in this open league. Players who play on more than one team in each league are subject to losing their eligibility for that sport. The opposing team does not have to protest this if caught by a supervisor or official. Every participant must have a membership to the FOI and also pay the intramural fee. Teams will consist of 10 players, 5 players in the field at a time. Since this is an open league, there is no specification on gender ratios. Players need to be added to the rosters prior to the start of a game, and payments must be made. Each game will consist of one 30-minute period, and the clock will stop for injury only. Unlimited substitutions may occur only on a score, and hats with bills, bandanas, metal cleats or spikes, or jewelry may not be worn while playing. Any player found wearing any of the above during the game will be removed and not allowed to re-enter until the equipment has been removed or replaced. Shin guards are strongly recommended for all participants, but not required. And teams may not stall to keep from getting the mercy rule. Any games that are not played competitively by both teams will be forfeited. For more details about the competition policy, please refer to the Intramural Sports Participation Manual. A coin toss will decide which team chooses the initial receive or choice of side to defend. The opponent will receive the remaining option. The second half returns, with the opposite team beginning in the half. After a point is scored, teams retreat to the opposite end, at which point play will resume with a pull downfield. After a turnover, the opposing team immediately picks up the disc and establishes an inbound pivot foot. A point is scored when an inbounds player catches the disc after passing through the pylons, and play starts at the beginning of each half and after each goal with a pull. A player on the team throws the disc towards the opposite goal line. On a pull, players must remain on the end line until the disc is released. A pull may not be made until a member of the receiving team indicates readiness by raising their hand. After the disc is released, all players may move in all directions. No player on the pulling team may touch the disc in the air until a member of the receiving team has touched it. If a member on the receiving team catches the disc inbounds, they must put the disc into play from that spot. If the receiving team allows the disc to fall to the ground untouched, the receiving team gains possession where the disc landed or the nearest line where it crossed out of bounds. A turnover occurs when a pass is incomplete. The receiver must retain possession during all player and ground contact, and the marker's count reaches 5 seconds before the throw is released. When a turnover has occurred, any member on the opposite team may take possession of the disc where the turnover occurred. Any member of the offensive team may take possession of the disc. The thrower must establish a pivot foot and may not change the pivot foot until the throw is released. The thrower may pivot in any direction, but once the marker has established a legal defensive position, the thrower may not pivot into him or her. Only one player may guard the thrower at any one time, and that player is the marker. The marker may not straddle the pivot foot of the thrower, and there must be at least one arm length between the bodies of the thrower and marker at all times. The marker cannot position their arms to prevent the thrower from pivoting. There is a stall count of 5 seconds, and if the defense switches markers, the stall count must restart at 1. After catching a pass, the receiver may only take the fewest numbers of steps required to come to a stop and establish a pivot foot. If the receiver catches the disc while running, she or he may throw a pass without coming to a stop, but only if the disc is thrown before the third step. If an offensive and defensive player catch the disc simultaneously, the offense retains position. A foul is a result of physical contact between opposing players. A violation generally is any other infraction of the rules. When an infraction occurs, the player loudly calls out the infraction. A player called for an infraction may contest that call by loudly yelling "contest." After a call, play stops, and players remain stationary until the parties involved have resolved the call. If a call is not disputed, play resumes in a way simulating what most likely would have occurred without the infraction. Example, if a thrower was fouled while throwing and the pass was incomplete, the thrower gets the disc back with a new stall count. If a call is disputed and the players cannot come to a resolution, the play is redone, with each player returning to the position she or he occupied when the dispute infraction allegedly occurred. Infractions include fouls, fast count, double teaming, arm length, traveling, stripping, and picking.